Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Astral Tourist. Recently, someone asked me whether I've ever given or received healing while astral projecting. I sat with that question for a while because I want to be careful about how I respond to that. And these are simply the personal experiences that came to mind that I've had. I'm not presenting a method or making claims. The last thing I want to do is give anyone false hopes. I'm just sharing my own personal experiences and memories. And I believe strongly in science and proper medical care as well, not just energy healing and stuff. So please always get proper medical care in addition to everything else that you want to try out. So, what I'm exploring are moments that in altered states of consciousness definitely felt like healing. Well, let's get into it and you'll see. I'm just going to be talking about the ones that came to mind primarily, but I've had a lot of smaller experiences as well. So anyway, my very first memory really takes me back to when I was very young. And I did not even understand what was occurring. I was, my family had this house, and across the road was the field where I had the experiences with the fairies. But I was over there in the physical. I forget what I was doing. I used to like to find the grasshoppers and make mud pies and things. I was just over there. I remember it was a sunny day. And I remember feeling despondent, but I don't remember why. I don't know if it was because, I didn't get to go flying last night in the astral. Back then I called them my colorful dreams. Or if it was something family related. That's all gone. I don't know why, but I remember I was feeling really sad about something. And it felt to me like out of nowhere, a flood of just loving energy was pouring into me. And that's what it felt like. It felt like love, like just pure love. So, at that age, I was already lucid dreaming and astral projecting. I was calling all of it my colorful dreams or my colorful flying dreams. But this felt different. This was like an overlap with the waking awareness. Because remember, I was in the physical over there. It was an afternoon. And I couldn't tell what was going on, but I thought, well, maybe somebody's trying to contact me from the other side, or, I didn't know. And the answer came clearly just inside my own mind. And it said, myself from the future. That's the answer I got. And so I decided to just enjoy it. It's like, okay, even if it's not, it feels like something good. And it was only much later, after I learned about Reiki and energy work and energy healing and light, that it began to make a lot more sense. Energy does not seem bound by distance or time in the ways that we try to box it in. So I don't claim to understand all the mechanics or quantum mechanics of it all, but something in me shifted that day, and I knew that something more was out there and possible because of that experience. And I'm counting this in with healing in the astral because it felt like to me it was coming in from the outside or from, maybe another higher layer or dimension. And even if we want to say, okay, that was my higher self, I don't know. It felt so connected to me because I'd already been astral projecting, and it felt like a liminal kind of experience between the astral and the physical worlds. And since that's also the first one that came to mind, I wanted to include it. These others are more astral projection experiences directly. So by my 20s, I was dealing with many, many migraines. They were horrible. Some of them would last 2 and 3 days. I had medication, but it would only kind of take the edge off. I had prescription medication. And it was just so much pain. And, by then I was able to astral project fairly regularly, mostly in that time period. I was doing a lot of rolling out of my body. I wasn't really phasing as much like I do now because it's been, many years later. For those that don't know, I'm in my 50s. So, this is back in my 20s where I was already, really good at astral projection, but I was rolling out and stuff instead of the way I do things today. But, of course, it was much harder during a migraine. But sometimes I would manage to do it. I mean, I was laying there for days at a time in horrible pain. So, I had a lot of time to practice. And occasionally, not always, I noticed when I would return to my body, like even if I only just managed to get out into the bedroom and get pulled back, the migraine would be lessened or sometimes like gone or like had that tingly feeling when they're going away. And I'd like do my deep breathing and meditation stuff I'd already learned. And, a lot of times that wouldn't be enough. But if I did that after I returned to my body, it would help it to go. So, and again, that did not work every single time. But I thought, well, maybe it's acting as a kind of reset in my nervous system or my parasympathetic nervous system, whatever you want to call it. And it just was enough to interrupt the pain cycle. And I can't say that for sure. Like, I don't want to say, oh, astral projection will cure your migraines. And it did not work every time, but it helped to take the edge off. When it helped, it really did help. And eventually, I learned through the elimination diet. I stopped eating everything and then added things back one by one. I discovered that they were actually triggered by canned tomato sauce. So there was a physical cause and not a spiritual one. So thank goodness I was able to figure that out. And I found out fresh tomatoes were fine. Even cooked tomatoes that I made myself, like if I were to buy fresh ones and turn them into a sauce with herbs and things, that those were fine. But when I had the canned tomatoes, back then I loved to make lasagnas, veggie lasagnas, all kinds of lasagnas. So I would buy the canned tomato sauces because they were cheaper, and I noticed that that's what did it. If I would use the canned tomato sauce, not the jars were fine, the canned one. So there's something about them being tinned or the cooking process or maybe the metal in the tin or can, I don't know. But after I stopped buying canned tomato sauce, I've had a couple of migraines over the years, but not like those were, not 3-day-long ones. And they're very rare, and I haven't actually had one in many years. I think I had a few in my 30s or something from allergies. But, so that was a physical cause, but just the act of popping out of my body and coming back in would sometimes be enough to lighten the load. And I really was happy about that when it would work. So moving on, over the years, I've experienced energy work in the astral as white light, rainbow light, sensations similar to Reiki. Sometimes I've been giving it, sometimes I've been receiving it. And the changes seem to be rather subtle. Like if I'm in the astral and giving somebody energy or an animal energy, I tend to just notice they become more radiant. Animals get poofy and fluffy, more vibrant. People cheer up, of course, and have more energy to go do stuff. I've had other people give me energy. Like this one lady comes to mind that's not even in my notes here. So I'm going to break off from my notes. And we were in this wonderful garden area admiring the plants. And I didn't even know her, but I remember she had brownish curly hair. And she was just loving the garden like I was. And she came over to me and she just said, I'm going to wake up soon. So here, take my energy. So I did. She wanted to give me more time in the garden. And so, I remember that and pass it on. If I know I'm going to wake up and somebody's nearby, looking a little bit, not radiant, I'll pass them off some of my energy if they let me. So, yeah, that's a really happy memory. So that's also a way to stabilize the experience and make it last longer as receiving energy, whether you do that from the sun or by eating something. And I have a whole how-to playlist, and one of those covers this. So if you want to check that out about how to extend your astral projection experiences, take in some energy, eat something, soak in the light somewhere, find even in the earth, if you're not afraid to go inside the earth, like in caves and stuff, you can find some really beautiful crystalline caves and just relax there and soak it in. So, yeah. Another experience that comes to mind happened while I was traveling. And I've had a few of these types of experiences, but this one is my strongest memory just because of the way that it happened. So I was sleeping on a very, very hard bed and having significant back pain. And I have back issues anyway, but that I do yoga for, and I can keep it under control most of the time, but put me on a hard bed when I'm traveling and tired anyway, I'm going to have some big pain flares. So again, trying to interrupt the pain cycle. I popped out of my body. I was able to do that, which I was surprised about, that I didn't get pulled back right away too. And I actually got out into the air flying. I was, if I can get a good distance away from my physical body, even when I'm in pain, I can stay out for longer and hope to interrupt that pain cycle. So I met a man just when I was flying around, and he was on an island and beckoning to me to come over. And I was thinking about going that direction anyway because I was running out of steam from the flying. And I thought, well, I can just, say hi and meet somebody. And when I got over there and slowly descended, he told me he's from northern Canada. Now, I don't know if I was flying in northern Canada or if he was just from there. So I don't know. I was off on one of these little islands, I think, on the west coast, maybe. But I'm not 100% sure anymore. Anyway, he asked me if I needed help almost right away. And he formed this doorway / portal, a really thick doorway of electric blue light around us. He just did this. And he said it was for us to speak privately. So I'm like, okay, that's a different way of speaking privately, but okay. And I just explained that I'm traveling, I'm physically uncomfortable and in pain, but ultimately fine. This too shall pass kind of situation. And, when I woke up from that, the pain was noticeably reduced, not completely gone, but very much eased. And what's interesting is that he never laid hands on me or visibly sent energy like Reiki or anything. The effect seemed to come simply from standing within that electric blue doorway / portal that he made. He made us our own little subspace there. And the energy was coming from that, and I could feel it. When I was in there, I was feeling tingly, and but I wasn't observing my pain at the time. So I wasn't actively thinking about, is this helping me or anything? I was just mainly trying to tell him, I'm really okay. I'm in a lot of pain. You're not wrong, but I'm okay. And so it was the space that functioned like an autonomous healing chamber. And I guess I must have been, psychically leaking the pain, or he wouldn't have been able to pick up on it so easily. And maybe he was just a really grand empath. I don't know. Probably he was. And again, I wasn't in the best way. So who knows? Maybe I was leaking my pain all over the astral and didn't even know it. Again, I was tired from travel and not 100%, in a super lucid state. But I was lucid enough to have a conversation and to fly around the astral and to know what was going on with the doorway. But I didn't perceive receiving the energy other than feeling the tingles and wow, this is cool way to do this as a private conversation. So in a way, after the fact, I feel like he was pretty sneaky using the doorway as a healing chamber without asking my permission. But, I don't have any complaints. I only have happy thoughts about him. So I just thought, wow, that's a whole different way to do it. This next one is pretty incredible. I met an octopus-like being in space. I know how trippy that sounds. But, a lot of times I'll just pop out into space when I can, when I have the energy, and just explore with no real destination in mind. Lately, I've been having destinations in mind, but this is from a while back. And I ran across this entity that I perceived as octopus-like. I couldn't see her super clearly. I mean, space is really dark anyway. So even with clarity now, you only pick up some things sometimes. And a lot of this was, I was perceiving with my senses, my astral senses. And so we were simply greeting one another, and I could tell the language was very different, even telepathically. Like even what, idea forms are different. But I could tell that she asked permission to connect more closely. And, in this case, I don't think I was in pain, but this was a while back. And I did not go back to my original notes to check this. So I may have been in pain or not. I don't think so. But the rest of these memories are clear enough. I didn't feel like I had to go back to look at them. And even if I had been, I know I wasn't seeking help. I remember exploring. So I just been out and about exploring space. And I gave her permission to connect more closely. And that's something I do too. Like if I'm not hearing somebody really well, I give permission to hold hands or touch third eyes or something. And I didn't know how she was going to go about it, being like an octopus. But I think she was using a number of her little extensions there. And she immediately seemed to understand every nerve ending in my body. And she asked if she could help. And being that I don't think I was in pain, and I didn't think I needed any help, I was really curious about this. Like, what's wrong with me that I don't know about? And, all I could sense back from her was goodwill. She was very luminous. I could tell she was highly intelligent. And so I just decided to agree, because if there's something I don't see going on, I want to know about it. And if she does something I don't like, I'll fix it when I wake up with my own energy work or mantras and such. So, when I woke up, I did feel very luminous. I mean, this was a positive experience. I just remember there being a lot of light and something with all of my nerve endings, because she was like, oh, that one and that one. And I don't know, she was making little touches on me. And, I don't understand that completely. But it was like when I woke up that I had some kind of an energetic upgrade, like all my little nerve endings were way better. So I count that as a healing or / upgrade, even though I had not gone looking for it. Now, the most fascinating part of this one for me wasn't even that part. After we connected and all of that was over, I was still up for exploring space. And so was she. And so what she did was she transformed into what appeared to be a spacecraft with large glowing white pads for seats. Now, she was vast, a vast being. And immediately it was like I was encompassed once I agreed to explore together. And there were these white light pads just made out of light, just the cushions, no backs or anything for seats. And when she started to move, it was really different. I kept slipping off the one I was on and grabbing the next one I could grab a hold of as she propelled us through space in these super unusual wave-like motions. Not like she was swimming through space. I couldn't really define it any better for you. But there were undulating wave-like motions and patterns, I don't know, maybe gravitational forces or something. I can only guess. And eventually she slowed down, and I had the sensation we were going to park, but I thought, okay, this is nice. And I'm going super slow, I guess, recovering from all of these motions and stuff. And I was just ejected and shot right out. spontaneously into an enormous hockey rink. It was fast. Like, I thought I would have more time to say thanks for the ride or something, or visit more, or maybe she would shapeshift and we would check out the new place together. But no, I was ejected into a hockey rink. And outside was a parking lot filled with various vehicles, including UFOs, disc-shaped ones, triangular ones, different kinds of ships. None were glowing or octopus-shaped. I couldn't tell which one had been her, if any. So this happened after I was ejected into the hockey rink. I was looking for doorways on purpose, because I wanted to find her and, at least say thanks or something. And there was a door not far from where I was. And so I went to open it, and that was the parking lot I just described. And since I didn't see her, or one that I thought might be her, I went back inside to the hockey rink again. And I saw another door not far from that one. And I thought maybe it's another parking lot. I mean, maybe I got it wrong and I opened the wrong door. But so I opened the second door and it led into a vast jungle. I did not go all the way through it. The doorway itself was set in an enormous tree, prehistoric times or something, prehistoric jungle. And it was all very Alice in Wonderland-like because the door was in this tree. I could see that much. And I could see out into the jungle. And I really didn't want to go out there because I was trying to stay close in case she showed up again. So again, I backed off and back into the hockey rink. And so I was exploring the hockey rink. Remember, this is huge, many blocks long. And on the other side of it, into the back right, there was a desk with somebody there, a silverish desk. Maybe the desk was white. I'm not sure. Anyway, it was glowing, and something was silvery on it, little gift things to buy, maybe. And there was a lady there, and I remember it was a female, in her, I don't know, 40s to 60s. I don't know anymore. And there was a white door behind her. It was just this little walkway, and then there was this door behind her. And meanwhile, there's this stuff at the desk that you could buy if you wanted to, or trade or something. And so the first thing I did was ask her, where does that door lead? Because I was tired of guessing, and I was looking for my new friend. And she said, the mall. So apparently I had been deposited into one of the many astral mall worlds yet again. I vaguely recall opening the door and looking, and it seemed like an more ordinary kind of mall rather than one of these super-sized giant ones, but I'm not sure. I remember it looked like it was stretching out the more I was kind of in the middle of that doorway. And I don't remember for sure without finding those older notes if I actually went out in there. But I know that if I did, it didn't last long. Or, I make these bookmarks and they stick with me. So if there are some more details, they're just small ones. I remembered the best of the best that I could. So do I understand all of this? No. But if someone's asking me whether I've given or received healing in the astral, yes, I definitely have. It just depends how you want to look at it. Sometimes it has coincided with physical relief in ways that were subtle, curious, or unexpected. There was that energy upgrade, and that's not the first time I've encountered that. I've had other beings help me out, even when I wasn't asking, and then that has not happened in quite some time. This is more in my 30s and maybe late 20s and stuff. But again, this healing is, it has never coincided with miracle cures. It's not a replacement for physical medicine. Healing is complex. The body is complex. The mind is complex. And we're all very different from each other in many ways. And everyone's experiences and interpretations of these experiences are, of course, quite different. So, again, these are simply some of my personal memories of astral experiences that, surfaced when I sat with that question about healing in the astral. So thank you so much for tuning in. I hope this has been of some use to you all. If you enjoyed the episode, please give it a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Until next time, happy astral travels.